pre-work. Do the stats. Even as a buyer's agent, we have to do the pre-work with our buyers. Before we go show them house one, they have to understand the market that they're coming in. If you have a client who wants to buy a house for even, I was going to say 5 or 10%, even $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 below list price, not today. Maybe when it's been on the market for a month and it's a less desirable property, right? But if they don't understand and they don't see the stats, they're not going to understand. We must educate the buyers and let them know what's going on in the market. Fully educate them. I see people coming onto Facebook and talking about their buyers, and they haven't taught them about the market until they go out and start driving around. This is the pre-work. Show them that things are selling at list or above list. And if you don't know how to work the stats in your MLS, take an MLS class. All right? Because there's lots of good information. And here's a secret. If you've got some good techie geeks in your office, are they sharing their stats and stuff? You should borrow them. Ask them. My friend Kevin, I'll call him up sometimes and say, hey Kevin, what have you been working on? He's always got some good data. And I always share the information from my association. When that comes through and they send out reports, share that, show it. Because when you get the pre-work done, they will be more prepared. Here's the next part of the pre-work, and that is the loan. We're going to talk about working with your lender here in a few minutes in more detail, but they need to have that pre-qualification letter. Or even better, the pre-approval letter. Did you know that banks, now banks, I mean banks in the purest sense of the word, banks, as a general rule, don't pre-qualify, don't put through underwriting the buyers until there's a signed contract. Some of y'all are nodding your head. I learned that the hard way. I don't know, just a year or two ago, actually. And then I confirmed it, right? I've been selling houses for 20 years, and I'm still learning, right? So those banks cannot pre-approve your buyer. Is that the best lending source for your client? Just something to consider. I'm going to give you some more suggestions with that. If the house price is above list price, or sometimes even if it's at list price, because list price sometimes, how many of you know list price, you look at that and go, are you kidding me? Right? The list price already starts at what you cannot imagine it appraising for. So does this buyer have any options available to them to go above appraisal price? And I'm going to give you some suggestions for that. I've been continuing with this class as I keep teaching it. I'm getting more information about that. So we're going to get to that. But you want to make sure you understand completely the financial situation of your buyer, and you, even more importantly, or equally so, your buyer needs to understand their financial situation, right? Do they need closing costs? If they do, we're going to have to look at some of the things I'm going to suggest as we move through the course. But they need to be aware that needing closing costs is going to limit their opportunities. They're not going to have the strength of negotiating power that they might think they have. All right, let's keep going. This has become one of my recent longings for agents to do longer and more thorough consultations with their buyer. It used to be, I'm telling you, technology has made all kinds of changes in our industry, hasn't it? And we'll get a call from somebody and they'll say, come and show me this house, and you meet them at the house. And it has been my experience and my observation that many agents just get the information at the house, and a lot of agents are not doing a full consultation with their buyer clients, not actually having a sit down and talking about things. And when that doesn't happen, there is so much information that is lost. We're going to talk about negotiation this afternoon if you're going to be coming back to that class, and we're going to talk about preparation. And this is part of that, the consultation, sitting with them and educating them about the market and hearing their concerns and also hearing their disconnect. If they haven't yet caught on how crazy the market is, or even if they have, do they know what that means for them? When my son bought his house, I referred to him an agent who is a good agent. However, they never had a consultation. I was really disappointed when I found that out, because in the end, she was not actually showing him houses in the area that they wanted to be. And this was an agent I had referred to him. I assumed everybody was doing full consultations. I have since realized this is slacking off. Another area where we're not consulting with our buyers to the degree we should be is contract preparation. If we just send over contract paperwork to them to sign, and we haven't sat down and actually spent the time going over the contract with them, they're signing something that they don't understand. So sometimes now for our consultation, we need 2 or 3 visits with them. So consult thoroughly. Start at the very beginning and get them ready. I'm going to give you a sneak peek into the negotiation. We're going to talk about this right now because I want you to be prepared with this. BATNA. Does anybody know what a BATNA is? Boom! Best alternative to a negotiated agreement from Getting to Yes by Uri and Fisher. Uri and Fisher. They're the author of the book that they coined this. Have you read that book? No. A Harvard negotiating class, and they taught you this. This concept, let me talk about this. Best alternative to a negotiated agreement. What this means is that we have to have a conversation with the buyer that says, if you don't get this house, or if you don't get any house, what are your alternatives? Will you continue to rent? Will you move to a smaller town where the price point is different? Will you stay in your parents' basement? Will you continue to live in the Residence Inn? How many of you have had clients living in the Residence Inn? That'll motivate a buyer. I got a few of those. There's some government transfer jobs, and they go in the Residence Inn. They're highly motivated. All right. We have to know, what are they going to do if they don't buy a house? Because they have to keep that in mind. That becomes part of their motivation when they're negotiating. So discuss this with them at the consultation. If you don't buy a house, what are you going to keep doing for a living situation? Is that what you want? Then that becomes the next question. Is that a good alternative for you for the next 6 months or a year or the rest of your life? Right? So we want to discuss this with them. And we put this on a yellow pad. Okay, you could be doing this or this or this. If you don't buy a house, what else are you going to do? So we want to discuss that early on. All right, I've got a list here. Who loves lists? Y'all love lists? I do. All right, I made you a list. 7 things to do to get the house. How to help you prepare a signable contract package. That's my favorite. Signable. When I send an offer over to the listing agent, I want them to give it to their seller and say, oh, this one's pretty amazing. They go over it, sign here. No counters. That's my goal. All right? So let's take a look at how we can present this amazing offer. You've already prepared the buyers. They're ready. You found a house, or you found a house that they would like to offer on, they're interested in, right? Call the listing agent. Keyword there, which one is keyword? Call. Awesome. Yeah. Do not text, do not email. Those are backup plans, okay? Texting and emails are when they won't answer your calls or return your calls. But let's start with the phone call. Call the listing agent. What happens when you call the listing agent? You hope they answer the phone and you get information. Some listing agents will give you a lot of information, right? Sometimes you need to just say, so why are they moving? And then go, zip it. Because they will go, blah, 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 and tell you lots of things. However, they're also, at this point with a new listing, very busy, so they might not be quite as chatty. So you want to know what questions you want to ask them when you call them.